0.63, that is the XG Arsenal created in the Carabao Cup final. 0.63 in a cup final, and I want you to sit with that number for a second, because that is not a bad day. That is not a team that tried and came up short. That is a team missing something fundamental, something structural. The reason that number exists is standing on the sideline, hood up, watching, because Eberechi Eze was not on that pitch. And right now, with the biggest 15 days of Arsenal's season about to begin, we do not know when he will be back. Welcome to Amelia Arsenal Update. I am Amelia, and today we are going deep on the Eze injury situation, not just the timeline, not just the fixtures he might miss. We are going into what this actually means for Arsenal tactically, what it changes in the system, and why one scan result coming in the next few days is not just a medical update. It is an Arsenal season update. If you are new here, subscribe. We do proper analysis on this channel. Not headlines, not hot takes, real football intelligence. Let us get into it. So here is exactly what we know. Issacs came off in the second half of the Champions League win over Bayer Leverkusen. Calf injury, he was replaced by Havrtz in the 69th minute. Then immediately after the game, classic footballer, he said he would be fine. He said he was all right. He said he would be back quickly. And I understand that. That is the competitor talking. But Arteta's face at full time told a very different story. Then came the Carabao Cup final. No Eze in the squad. 0.63 XG, 2-0 defeat. And afterwards, Arteta confirmed it. Calf issue. Second scan needed. 4 to 6 weeks being reported. He also pulled out of the England squad for the international break friendlies. So we have the confirmation. We have the rough timeline. But here is the key part, that second scan. Arteta said it himself. Another scan in 6 or 7 days. That scan happens around March 28th or 29th. And that scan is everything, because 4 weeks and 6 weeks are not the same situation. They are two completely different seasons. So the question I want to explore today is not simply when does Issacs come back? The real question is this: can Arsenal get through the next 15 days without him? And more than that, is this squad structurally equipped to absorb the loss of its most important creative player at the worst possible moment? Because look at what is coming. April 4th, FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton. Away, April 7th, Champions League quarter-final first leg. Away at Sporting CP in Lisbon. April 11th, Bournemouth at home in the Premier League. April 15th, Sporting CP second leg at the Emirates. April 19th, Manchester City away at the Etihad. 5 massive games, 15 days, 3 competitions. And Issacs is at minimum missing the first 3, possibly all 5. Do you see the scale of what we are talking about here? This is not managing without a squad player for a few weeks. This is Arsenal potentially navigating their most important run of the season without their most creative player. Now, I want to make something very clear from the start, because I think a lot of people, even Arsenal fans, are misunderstanding what Issacs' role actually is. People look at the number 10 position and they think creator, playmaker, someone who passes the ball nicely. That is not what Issacs does in Arteta's system. Yes, he is creative, brilliantly creative, but his specific function in this Arsenal shape is something much more particular. He operates in the half spaces between the lines, in that zone where the opposition midfield and defensive line are furthest apart. And the reason that is so valuable is not just about creating chances, it is about what it does to the opponent. When Eze receives in that space, in that pocket between the lines, he attracts pressure. 2 or 3 players move toward him, and then he either carries through them, which he can do because his close control under pressure is exceptional, or he releases quickly and the movement opens up. That is the mechanism. That is how Arsenal generate fluid attacking play through the centre. Not through Havrtz, not through Saka cutting in, not through Martinelli, through Eze in those pockets, pulling the opponent's shape apart. Without that, Arsenal's attack becomes predictable, wider, more direct, more dependent on individual quality from Saka and Martinelli in 1-versus-1 situations. Now, the obvious question is, what about Havrtz? He is the natural replacement in that position, and he will play there. I have no doubt about that. But here is what I want you to understand. Havrtz is not a number 10 in the traditional sense. He is a movement player. He is brilliant at arriving late, at rotating into the box, at pressing relentlessly from the front. His intelligence is about timing and positioning in relation to the goal. He is not a carrier. He is not someone who takes the ball in tight spaces and drives through pressure. When Havrtz drops into the half space, he holds. He plays simple, he links, that is fine. That is a different kind of contribution, but the penetration is gone. And what that means in practice is this: Arsenal's attacking patterns become more predictable for the opponent. Teams can sit deeper, hold their shape, because the unpredictable element, Eze's ball carrying in tight areas, has been removed. And because Arsenal's attack shifts wider, Saka carries more, Martinelli carries more. Both of those players are brilliant, but they are already carrying significant workload across a long season. This puts more on them at the moment they least need it. Now this is where things change, because so far we have been talking about Issacs as if the solution is straightforward. Havrtz comes in, Arsenal adjust, they manage, but there is a variable I have not mentioned yet. And when I tell you, it changes everything you think you know about Arsenal's situation going into the Sporting CP tie. Martin Odegaard, Arsenal's captain, their primary ball distributor, the player whose passing range and vision is the bedrock of how Arteta's system functions. Odegaard has been managing a knee problem. He is not fully confirmed fit. He returned briefly from injury and has featured very limited minutes recently. His availability for Sporting CP, particularly the first leg on April 7th, is not guaranteed. Now think about that for a moment. Arsenal could walk into a Champions League quarter-final first leg in Lisbon without Issacs and without Odegaard. No first choice number 10, no captain, no creative spine against a Sporting CP side that, and I want to be direct about this, are not just a Portuguese club turning up to make up the numbers. This is a team that presses aggressively, plays at high intensity and has real quality going forward. And the cruel irony, Sporting CP is the club Arsenal bought Victor Gyökeres from in the summer. The same club, the same stadium. Here is what most people miss about this Issacs injury beyond the obvious attacking impact. It is not just about goals and chances created. Issacs' role in Arsenal's defensive structure out of possession matters too. When Arsenal press, Issacs are part of the second pressing line. He presses intelligently, he covers specific passing lanes, he forces the opponent backwards and inwards. His positioning without the ball, the pressing triggers he creates, shapes how the midfield block sits behind him. Remove that and Arsenal's press is slightly less coordinated. Havrtz presses differently, higher, more direct, less positionally precise in terms of shutting down lanes. It is a small difference. Not dramatic, but at the highest level in a Champions League quarter-final, small differences matter. Now, let me give you something else to think about. The Gyökeres situation. Without Issacs and potentially without Odegaard, someone has to carry the creative burden in central areas. You might expect that responsibility to fall naturally on Zubendi, the deep midfielder, the orchestrator, and Zubendi is excellent. His distribution from deep can bypass the missing creative link, but Zubendi is fundamentally a defensive midfielder. His job is structure, protection, control, distribution. Asking him to be the creative driving force, particularly in the second phase of attacking moves, is adding responsibility to a player whose primary job is something else entirely. There is also a question about Gyökeres. Without a functioning number 10, without a player between the lines feeding him, Gyökeres may find himself isolated. He is at his best when he has runners around him and a creative player picking passes into him. Without Issacs creating those pockets and releasing at pace, Gyökeres has to work harder, drop deeper, link more. That is not his strongest suit. I want to be direct with you now. This is my honest analytical assessment. I think people are focusing on the wrong fixture when they talk about Issacs' return. Everyone is talking about the Champions League, the Sporting CP legs, the European nights, and yes, those matter enormously. But in my view, the single most important fixture for Issacs' return is April 19th, Manchester City away, the Etihad. Here is why. Champions League knockout football carries its own momentum, its own adrenaline. Arsenal have shown they can raise their level on European nights even when the squad is not complete. The crowd, the occasion, the intensity, they compensate to a degree. A Sunday afternoon Premier League title decider at the Etihad does not carry that same energy. That requires maximum quality, maximum creativity, maximum individual brilliance against a team who know Arsenal inside out. Without Issacs, the Etihad on April 19th, Arsenal's chances of winning that game drop significantly. And that not the Champions League may be the result that defines whether Arsenal win the Premier League title. That is where I want him back. That is the target. I also want to say something about Issacs' injury pattern. 3 hamstring problems in his final 2 seasons at Crystal Palace. Now a calf issue at Arsenal. These are different muscle groups. I am not saying this is a chronic problem, but there is a pattern of late season muscular issues across his career, and Arsenal's medical staff need to ask an honest question. Is the intensity of Arteta's system, the relentless pressing, the high physical demands, accumulating debt in Eze's body specifically? That is not a criticism, that is proper sports science, because keeping him available long term is more important than getting him back 1 week early. Let me zoom out for a moment, because this injury sits inside a much bigger story about this Arsenal season. Arteta spent the summer rebuilding this squad fundamentally. Zubendi came in, Gyökeres came in, Eze came in for £67.5 million. That level of investment on Eze specifically was based on one belief, that he is a player who performs in elite knockout football, and he delivered on that. His performances in the Champions League knockout rounds against Leverkusen were exceptional. He was exactly what Arsenal paid for. And then in the second leg at the Emirates, the same game, the same match where he proved his worth, he picked up the injury that now threatens to rule him out of everything that follows. That is a brutal irony, and it raises a legitimate question. If Arsenal exit the Champions League at the quarter-final stage, if they drop more points in the title race during this period, how is the window judged? The Eze investment was about winning now, about competing for the biggest prizes. The injury challenges that idea, not fatally, but it challenges it. This season is not over, far from it, but the margin for error that Arsenal had 2 weeks ago is smaller now. So what happens next? Here is how I see the two scenarios playing out. Scenario 1, the scan comes back positive, the injury is less severe than feared. 2 to 3 weeks, Issacs misses the FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton. He misses the first leg at Sporting CP, but he is back possibly from the bench for the Sporting CP second leg at the Emirates. He is available and sharp for the Man City game on April 19th. In this scenario, Arsenal have a chance, a real chance. Across all three competitions, the damage is managed. The squad adapts for 1 week. Eze returns, the momentum continues. Scenario 2, the scan confirms the full 4 to 6 week timeline. Eze misses everything through to late April at the earliest. That means Southampton, both Sporting CP legs, Bournemouth, Man City, Newcastle, potentially the first leg of a Champions League semi-final. In this scenario, Arsenal's season does not collapse. Let me be clear about that, but it becomes significantly harder. They would need Odegaard to return cleanly and stay fit. They would need Odegaard to return cleanly and stay fit. They would need Saka to carry an enormous burden at the most demanding time of the season. It is possible, but it requires everything to go right. And here is the key point. That scan coming around March 28th or 29th tells us which version of Arsenal's season we are watching. Look, I will be honest with you. When Issacs limped off against Leverkusen, I was not panicking. He said he was fine. The win was secured, the crowd was celebrating, and then the Carabao Cup final happened. And I watched that 0.63 XG in real time, and I understood the problem, not in theory, in front of my eyes. Arsenal without Issacs are a different team. Not a bad team, but a different team. Less unpredictable centrally, less dangerous in those pockets between the lines, more reliant on Saka, more dependent on wide play. And that is a version of Arsenal that better teams will find easier to defend against. What I want from you, and I genuinely want to know what you think, is this. Which fixture worries you most if Eze is missing? Is it Sporting CP? Is it Man City at the Etihad? Or is there a different game, one that is not getting enough attention, that concerns you? Tell me in the comments, because the best analysis on this channel is always a conversation, not just me talking at you. If you got value from this breakdown, like the video. It genuinely helps this channel reach more Arsenal fans who want proper analysis. Subscribe if you are not already here, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.